Is this thing working? I think it's working. We're live. What's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. Big thanks to all you guys that support the channel. Truly appreciate it. For you guys that have sent in super thanks and super chats, I see the super chats on the live show, but the super thanks, a lot of times I'm not notified of those. So if you've sent one, I thank you very much. Also, if you're watching the show after it's been filmed live, well, I've tried to figure out ways to automatically make this thing not throw a ton of ads at you. But if it is still throwing a ton of ads, throw down that info in the comments and let me know about it. I will. It'll basically just trigger me to go in there and manually move ads around. So, with all that being said, I just got back from about an hour and a half ride on the Triumph. And I got to tell you, the bike's better than she's ever been. So that's a good thing. Not a whole lot of saddle rust on my end either, which is kind of cool and kind of weird at the same time. So a couple of things I am going to move around and a couple of things I am going to fix on that bike. But the way it sits right now, she is, just perfect enough. That thing is, like I say, better than she used to be and surprisingly strong. So, that's pretty cool. That's something that I was really looking forward to, taking that bike out. Just picked her up today, got her all put back together. Rocking a set of Rossi 3s. I like the tires quite a bit. And, I'm going to play around with some suspension settings. But aside from that, like I say, the bike doing absolutely phenomenal. And again, surprisingly strong too. So, but with that, I wanted to talk to you guys about, all these, a lot of guys modifications, in the directions that they want to go and, what the end result is really going to be with some of these modifications, at least in my, if you want to call it experience, it's really more, if you're around it for so long, it's not just experience anymore. It's kind of just part of the lifestyle, right? So, wanted to touch on some of that too here in just a minute. If you got some questions about mods, by all means, post them up. Usually the biggest one or the biggest, I don't know what the questions that carry the most weight when it comes to modifications is camshafts. All right. So let's see. Rome is in. First up. Jason's in. Itch is in. Base is in. Sovereign's in. Mods. Got it. Complex is in. Marco saying, should I give up on this regular cab? Man, I don't know, dude. I understand projects kind of end up taking on a life of their own, but if you're thinking about ditching it, get rid of it. Don't hang on to a project because of, some desire to see the thing all the way to the finish line. Let somebody else have it. If you're not having fun with it, 86 that thing. Sovereign saying, just having to pick up my phone and boom, just popped up. Nice. Let's see. Rome's asking, UAW strike, you got any thoughts? Man, I'll put it to you like this. Yeah, so I've been keeping up a little bit with that stuff. And I got to say, guys, it's hard for me to argue with what the UAW is arguing for. The numbers sound obnoxious, but, when you've got CEOs getting 30 and 40% pay increases, and you're seeing your suppliers getting 10, 15, 20, 30% increases in the cost of the goods that they're selling. And you look at what kind of an impact you as a labor force or you as a vendor have on the cost of the goods in general. And the guys looking at it going, look, we make up 5%. We're way behind the times as far as what we're getting paid versus what higher ups are getting paid, y'all are going up and up and up and up on price on cars, but we're not getting paid more. So, I mean, hate to tell you, I kind of I'm on the side of the auto workers, mainly because look, you can't keep giving your suppliers more and more and more and more money and not do something for the auto workers. Got to remember, the auto workers are me and you. These are regular guys and gals that are working for a living, and they've got to be able to afford the things that they're building. I'm a big proponent of that. If you sell something or you build something, you need to be able to afford that you're selling or that you're building. And I'm telling you this, these people can't afford the cars that they're making. And these are people of modest means, but we're also talking about modest vehicles too. So, anyway, that's kind of how I see that whole thing. Part of me, when I hear the percentages, you go, damn, that's a lot of money. But when you look at the cost of look at how much the cost of this car right here has gone up. That little Hellcat back there started off life, it's an early 2015. That car was $65,000 or $67,000. Can't remember, somewhere in that range back in 2015. In 2023, that car is $80,000. That's 33%. Actually, it's $81,000, $82,000. It's practically 25-ish% more. And that's just for that car right there. So, I mean, you can kind of see where they're coming from. Anyway, getting back to this, you guys. Oh, base saying, I'm leaving my 392 alone. I think running 11s on street is good enough for me. That's what I would do. Gary is in. What's up? Frederick is in. What's cooking? I like it. European and Asian vehicles. Yeah. I mean, UA strike, maybe. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, Stellantis is a big part of that. And so we'll see how that ends up affecting things downstream. Carzilla's asking if we're hearing anything for 24. Nope. Here's the thing for 24 that you got to remember. 24 is kind of I don't know, it's almost like a rebuilding year. You've heard some things about Jeep, which are practically embarrassing. There's talk about 24, 25 for the trucks. It's actually 25. The trucks getting the inline six. There's been sightings of the mule, the test mule with the inline six, although nobody can really confirm that. Or I should say the rumors are that the truck that they saw had the inline six. I'm sorry, but until we get an actual word from Dodge saying, yeah, we're doing this and it's going to be awesome, man, I got nothing. As far as cars go coming out of Dodge, absolutely nothing. There's no talk, no movement, nothing to keep any Mopar fan even remotely engaged right now. So all we can do is talk about the hot rods that we got, not the hot rods we're going to get. It's just saying, finally got some new tires for the back of the Scat. Haven't installed yet, but got 295, 35, 20 on 10.5-inch rims. Hopefully get better grip, as the 245s are bad. They are bad. Oh, base saying one more issue to run auto prices up, but I can see UAW's point. I mean, look, my thing with UAW or any other union is they're looking at it from a bottom up standpoint. When you see, again, you're just beginning up, right? You see your groceries getting more and more expensive. You see your electricity bill getting more and more expensive. You see your suppliers getting paid more and more for the same product. And you see your bosses and higher ups getting significant pay increases. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just sit there and take it? And besides, your labor, you represent what it takes to put that thing together, and you're somebody else's passive income. And that somebody else in this case are shareholders. So, there's all of that to consider coming from the UAW standpoint. Jason's asking about a cam. Got a question: 220, 230, 602, 112 LSA, or 223, 231, 596, 111 plus 2 just means it's 111 lobe separation angle installed at 109. Planning to go forged, adding turbo, converter, and fueling upgrade along with being full bolt-on. If that's the case and you're going turbo, the cams are not that far off. 112, I would have to know what the intake, the ICL is. It's probably a +3, which would mean intake center line about 109. Most of the Hemi cams end up falling in line at about that 109 area when you start playing with the mid 220 durations. Honestly, man, I mean, flip a coin between those two. I kind of like if okay, so is this a 5.7? Oh wait, here you go. He's a little bit further down here. I'm guessing that's a 5.7. Yeah, I mean, either one of those cams will be fine. I would prefer, if I'm being honest, I'd probably like to see the 111 when you install it at a 109. But there's honestly, man, there's just not enough separating those two. I'm really trying to pick it. Coming from different cam manufacturers, the lobe profile can be different. Texas Speed's got a pretty good looking low profile. Comp Cams has got an aggressive low profile. You're running a turbo, so you can always stretch the power out the back end. Go with the 111 on the 109. Like I say, I doubt the 112. I think the 112 may make a little bit more peak power, but if it's installed straight up at 112, it's going to be a turd through the mid-range compared to the 111 at a 109. Sovereigns is saying looks like Toyota and Honda are going to do well. Yeah, maybe. They're saying 20 an hour is the new 10 in this economy. Oh, you better believe it. Yeah, actually, I would argue 25 is closer to the new 10. Oh, yeah, his builder's got a SB 5.7 making 580 on 8. So my forged engine is more than sure will break 600. Yeah, HP 70 will be the weak point for sure. I mean, throw the kitchen sink at it, man. Stuff doesn't really get live until about 12 or 15 pounds of boost anyway. 8 pounds is great, though, for the street. But if you're on fuel, like if you're on corn, which you should be, I wouldn't waste my time with anything less than 10 or 13. Between 10 and 13 would be where I would want to start. And keep in mind, it's not really a boost number. That 111, that tight LSA it'll be a significantly lower boost number to make any horsepower figure with that cam. That's a good NA cam, by the way. It's a fun NA cam, I should say. Rum's asking, if I order a Forge 426 short block, is it okay to use stock parts to make it a long block, like heads, cam? Sure, absolutely. In fact, here's something that I've wanted to do, and if you do this, please keep me in the loop on the build. So back in the day when we first started messing with the 392, one of the builds that I wanted to put together, matter of fact, it's the build that I would want to put together for my truck, would be a 408 or a 426 stock 6.4 intake, stock 6.4 cam with long tubes, and with VBT the whole bit. The reason for that is that it would just be built specifically as a street engine with a lot of tip-in throttle and not really worrying too much about how it pulls on the big end. That cam's got a real wide LSA, but not a lot of duration. You know, it would basically be like driving an electric car. You'd have this big whap of torque and it would just stay there indefinitely. The other cam that I would put in it would be on a 109 intake center line, somewhere along the lines of a 226, 230 cam. And that's kind of a goofy sounding cam for an engine like that. But again, it would be really be 226, 232, 226, 234. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point of this is that it would be a cam that would be very, very streetable, but a stock build with nothing but displacement would be a freaking awesome, just a good engine combination overall. It's just asking, what horsepower can the TR6060 trans take in the Scat Pack? Honestly, as much as you want to throw at it. You're not going to do anything to that setup that's going to hurt that transmission, especially if it's on the street. Oh, Rum say it's exactly what I want. Something to drive on the street that's totally different from everyone else. Not trying to break records. Here's the thing. In the tune, switch the if you decide to do it in the tune, switch your breakover point for your intake manifold down to like 4,300, 4,400 from 4,700. I'm telling you, that's if I were to build an engine for my truck, that's exactly what I would build. It'd be like a 408 to 426, just something warmed over, basically. Using it'd be a 5.7 stroker. Ryan's asking, what are my thoughts on Nitrous 402 on the 402 poly stroker? I mean, I got the 67,000s over, still good. Wilder or Wood low boost, like a torque storm for this cam. Wanting 680, man. I'd probably go with boost, and I wouldn't set my sights that high. The only problem I don't have any beef with Nitrous. It's just not there all the time. And if you've got it in the budget for a blower, you always go blower. And if you want it to go faster than that, faster than what it goes with a blower, then throw Nitrous on top of the blower setup. That's just my O2. But no, for something like that, for what you're doing with that thing, Nitrous has got a lot of pop at the, at the drive-in, but, blowers, pretty much where it would be. Jason's asking, so for boost turbo, would you want to see more LSA rather than no, I wouldn't. Let me tell you why. I mean, so here's the deal. Anytime I'm dealing with a snail, whether it's belt driven or exhaust driven, I want to utilize the engine's strengths where the NA is going to be good. So I want to have a tighter LSA. So if you're going to have a converter and it's more of and you want something to be somewhat rowdy, I would want to tighten up the LSA and maybe rock it back. You can stick with 109 if it's a street combination. If you want to dial the thing up a little bit higher in the RPM and still retain good mid-range, you can rock it back to like 110 or 111. But here's the thing. I don't like spreading out lobe separation angle for turbos or centrifugal superchargers because they exaggerate. Because, I mean, turbos not necessarily, but like for a pro charger, you've got a rising boost curve. Turbos, you can cap it, right? So either way, if you have a wide LSA and you have some type of a snail bolted to that engine, it's going to want to keep carrying power way past, 65, 66, 6,700 RPM. And a lot of times you don't want to necessarily be spinning this thing much further past that. A 112 or a 111 installed at 109 or 110 with who cares what the lift is, somewhere around 600 lift, with a 224, 232 type looking cam is going to drag that thing out to about 6,700 RPM once you start throwing boost at it anyway. So, you know, remember, you got big old valves with these engines. If you play to the engine strength, you're going to have a better combination overall. And if you're going to go with a wide LSA, the problem with a wide LSA is that they just are so neutered feeling down low. So, you know, you've got a real active intake port, which is great because, you know, you're closing the exhaust valve so early because you're opening it so early. It's just in the whole grand scheme of things, in my personal experience, I've liked cams that look like NA cams for centrifugal supercharged stuff and cams that look like stock cams. In other words, wide LSAs for positive displacement because it increases boost response and it makes it real snappy. So, and you want a wide LSA because that compressor needs the extra help to drag it up in that higher RPM range. It's one of the reasons why Hellcats, well, and 392s have this cam, this basically the same cam as a Hellcat, just in terms of where the center lines are, just it's got more exhaust duration for the Hellcat, but they're both 215, what is it, 215, 222, and then 215, 242 for the Hellcat, but they're both on like 121 degree lobe separation angles. And that's an effort to make that thing drag power further out in the RPM range. Let's see. A little bit further into Jason's question. Is more LSA better for boost? I also see a 223, 222, 115 plus 3. So that's installed on a 112. And the reason why they're doing that is they're trying to get a little bit of clearance for the intake valve. Remember that if you retard the cam, it's putting you closer to piston and valve clearance issues for the exhaust valve. So it'll work. It's a good, I mean, again, all of those cams are good. 115 isn't too crazy. 115 will be easier to tune. I can tell you that. And your stock cam is also a 115. So it's like having your stock cam with just a lot more duration. Stock duration, by the way, is about 20 degrees. Actually, it's about 30 degrees less than what those cams look like. Rome's asking, is there any real difference in the 5.7 versus 6.4 stroker? There is a difference, yes. I can do my 5.7 Magnum or the Scat, so I wonder which one would be. So a 6.4, if you're looking to get 6.4 liters, you have to remember the 6.4 just has a bigger bore. Was it 4090? Anyway, it's a bigger bore, which unshrouds and makes life easier for intake valves, at least in exhaust valves, from a volumetric efficiency standpoint. To get there with a 5.7, you just need more stroke. Characteristically, normally, from what I've seen, if you're going like a 392 stroke or a 408, you'll be better off starting off life with a 392. Again, and it's just because you're starting off life with a smaller bore with a 5.7. Plenty of guys do it though, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. Like I said, if I were to build mine, you know, some 400-ish cubic inch 5.7 stroker with a bunch of stock parts thrown at it. Oh, looks like I answered a question for Jason. Cool. Oh, Carzilla, no, I've never seen just the lights. And you do have to remove the bumper to replace those, by the way. So weird design flaw. Oh, Himmy saying, hey, starting to look at what's next for my fun card. Don't want to get rid of my Scat Pack. I'm thinking something like a fun Lower horsepower manual car like a Miata, BRZ, GTI. What do you think? Get something front wheel drive. Get a GTI. Find you an older GTI or something along that line. Find you a hot hatch that you like. Go with that. Go with something completely different. Piss on the Miata. I know everybody loves them some Miata. No, why? You've already got a rear wheel drive car. A BRZ is just way too underpowered for my taste. Again, if I'm going different, I mean, let's get nutty, man. I mean, I want to see something cool as shit, like an old school Rabbit on BBS rims. I want to see something like an old Omni or something like that, like a GLH Omni. Find you a Daytona. By the way, smart money. If you've got it laying around and you got the room, you best be snagging up Daytonas and GLHs right now. There's a Daytona GLH too, and if you can find them, get Conquests and Starions because they are getting stupidly expensive right now. Base. Yeah, your car will run better. Your car is actually optimized for 93 octane, and it will tolerate 91. Arthur is in. Got the cadence down. I like it. Got the arm flex with the ball guy and the shades. Arfo is saying, evening Mopar nerds. Hope everyone is having a good night. Same for you, my friend. Moto asks, how far does Revlon? I do not spin that car past 6,200 through shift points, and I just hang on to fifth gear on the back half of the track, so whatever it revs out to. I do not spin Hellcats that high. I know there's a lot of people that do. It makes sense on a dyno if you're only looking at peak power. But my transmission tune in my car is a lot like my transmission tune in my truck, and I short shift my truck, guys. So just saying. And I'm number one. Ha. I own the record, so I must be doing something right. Arfo is saying, hopefully it's nothing, but I noticed after a 300-mile round trip a few days ago, my 19 Challenger RT has a bit of a surge in first gear, about halfway through the gear. Never have heard of that symptom before with these cars. What is going on with this? Oh, I just messed something up. Arfo said the shifts themselves are smooth. It just feels like a hiccup of sorts halfway through first. That's weird. I'd have to get a data log on it. I would want to see if you've got a RPM blip. Tad's asking, how do 5.7s do on nitrous? They're not bad. You know, nitrous in a 5.7 is not a dumb idea. They've got a good cam for nitrous. They've got a tighter lobe separation angle. You know, I would say if you hit it with something like a $125 shot, be a fun car. But no, they do just fine with nitrous. 6.4s do just fine with nitrous. You just gotta be careful with that. The HP 70 transmission with the 6.4s. Base DeLorean, maybe? No, actually, I don't think DeLoreans are doing that good right now. Carzilla saying, Rebel or Trail Boss, I need another truck. Damn, that's a tough one. The new Rebel's nice. They all come with 392 gears or a sharp-looking truck. Trail Boss, damn, I wouldn't get a Chevy unless I could get a 6.2, and the problem with the 6.2 is that they're having problems with transmissions backing them up. So not that I'm trying to be a Mopar fanboy or anything, but I'd stick with the Rebel, to be honest with you. I think it's a better looking truck all the way around. Car Wash. Hey, B, temps are dropping in Erie, PA. I like it. Going to be about 50 degrees, 55 degrees tonight. Time to get the 1320 of the track this weather. Yes, I am living vicariously through you. And he's saying, I'd love to find an old Datsun 510. I like the GTI recommendation and have had VWs in the past. Hot hatch is a good recommendation. I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, go that route, you will not be bummed out by it. And I mean, get that thing out and act just like a kid with that car. I freaking LOVE hot hatches. Like, I love those cars. So yeah, get out there and if you find one, just have a ball with it. Those things are so much fun. Summer's saying smash the like button. Oh, Ryan said, well, the article I'm building is poly off of 498 horsepower. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I just for on the street, I know what I know what modern fuel quality will manage. So, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty in there to do it. I would just go personally, I'd go with the supercharger. Plus, it's easier on internals. X is asking, what would you with a car, low end torque or high end, like H pipe versus X pipe? I would prefer to get rid of the X pipe. Matter of fact, at some point, I've been working on the bike. I've been finalizing again the tune in the truck, but I'd like to put an H pipe style exhaust on the Hellcat, mainly just because of the sound of it. Just put the whole cat pack back there. The H pipe in my testing has done the best overall in terms of making power. The X pipe, again, it's just a noise thing. They just have a higher pitch because you're compressing the sound wave. Ryan, not a non-SAE. Oh, base saying the new GMC looks nice. Yeah, all the Dynos look good. Base saying looking forward to some Stormy footage. Maybe take Revlon out again. Drove her. What was it? Just a few days ago. Took the car out, just basically just put some miles on her, burned some of the gas out of her. She's running good. Runs real good. Stormy's running really good. Pretty much everything's running good. Took Foxy out. Foxy's running real good, although Foxy desperately needs an alignment. And struts. I would argue alignment and struts for sure have got to be in that car's future. And it's frustrating because there's only so much time in the day, and you get busy, and you 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 days go by and you want to get these things done, but there's also a budget that's got to be taken into account too. So we'll get these things sorted out as they come. I would really like to get Revlon back to the track here in the next couple of months. Really been itching to get back on a drag strip, but man, I just really like driving that car in street trim. It is really a comfortable car to drive around in. But Base is bringing up Stormy. So what I've been doing with Stormy is really working on like my all fuel tune. So I've got a 93 octane tune for that truck that's pretty legit. The downside to it is that it is not cool with poor quality 89. Typically, you're not tuning one of these things, especially a truck. You're not tuning it on the edge, right? But I did some things to that tune. I mean, it should have been actually, and it has been fine on 93 octane, but it just doesn't have there's just not enough in that tune to be able to deal with poor fuel quality. And the tune in the truck has got to be able to deal with bad fuel quality. So what I've done is I have, in effect, under partial throttle conditions, kind of mimicked just by adjusting how the throttle sensitivity is, for lack of getting too deep into driver demand torque and all this other stuff. I just adjusted the pedal a little bit to make it a little bit more aggressive, and I adjusted some partial throttle shift points. And the truck seems to be a lot livelier And of course, we've got the Airade tube with the filter in the truck. That actually, believe it or not, I'm not one to usually call out benefits of anything, but that did make a difference for that truck. And in the heat, or at least in the humidity and the funk of the air that it was in, it's running low 14. I mean, well, I say low 14, low 1420s. Bay saying, saw 3 Teslas in traffic today, then a Cuda. Which car do you think everyone's looking at? I'm sure. I had somebody in a Tesla that was just getting on my nerves tonight. Not that they were doing anything wrong. It's just I always ended up next to this car. Is this funky traffic tonight. Spent a lot of time on the bike, an hour and a half, and a lot of that was in kind of crap traffic too. Oh, Sovereign, I'm experiencing a weird thing in my car. I'm getting better gas mileage in sport mode than eco. It doesn't make sense. Have you heard of that? The problem with the eco is you're starting off in second gear, and a lot of times people have a tendency to hit the throttle a little bit harder than they normally would in eco mode. So yeah, for the first, few seconds that you're accelerating, you might find yourself really trying to lean on the throttle. Alex, thank you very much. Say, I had a scare with some bad 91. My Scat Pack could use some Pepto-Bismol. Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I get a little bit skittish for guys that are in areas where you can only get 91. The problem with 91 is that funky 91 is 89 octane. And I ran into an issue with some 91 octane or with some 89 octane down here that was probably more like 87. And I was getting low speed spark knock out of Stormy, and it freaked me out. So I made a bunch of changes to that tune. And it's, like I say, the truck runs really good. It's not a race car, but that truck does run good. So, but yeah, I was getting a whole lot of just clatter, and it was not a good thing. Sovereign Teslas are boring. Sovereign's got the unkillable Lexus ES350. I like it. Sovereign saying, I think you're right. I noticed the car just feels better running it in sport. So here's the funny thing about a lot of the eco mode type stuff. You just find yourself with your foot more in it than anything else. Skids is in saying, late to the party. Dude, I spent an hour and a half on that bike tonight, man. Bike is running good. Yeah, it's funny. And I'm going to start putting out more bike content, I guess, here in the next, I don't know, as the weeks progress with this thing. I've got a few things that I need to do to the bike. But here's the thing, it's a Triumph T595. The 595 is a chassis designation. It's a 955cc bike. It's interesting when you ride a vintage bike like that. You don't have any of the rider nannies that you do with a modern bike, which is a lot like how these modern cars are. They're just too much. It's too much nanification. So anyway, the older bikes are just cool. A lot of it's very usable power, and much more than what that Triumph makes. It makes it, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of a handful. That, like I say, the bike, it'll put down like 122, 124 to the rear wheel. With gobs of torque, that bike makes a ton of torque. That's the fun part about it. So, anyway, I'd ride that thing every day if I can get away with it. Skids saying the two-wheel freaks definitely be watching. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like I say, it's a great bike. I'm kind of like, I'd like to get something that my wife and I can do some longer rides on, or, you know, just honestly, just more of a bar hopper than anything else. Um, but for me, I can't, when it comes to bikes and cars too are the same way. The problem with the bikes is that you never can take full advantage of the power that one of those things can lay down these days. I mean, 600s, yeah, I guess at 600 you can still have fun and not be in like freak out mode. But any of these, the latest crop of naked sport bikes, and really any of the big four, uh, it, any of the leader class bikes are just absolutely nutty nowadays. Oh, Skids is yeah. Arthur's saying it's a good point about eco mode. Yeah, I can just say that because that's what I end up doing with mine. Skids is liking the analog feel of the older bikes. Part of the reason why I went with Harley Davidson for my cruiser, outside of fuel injection, ABS, not much to it. Yep. Oh, you're saying I'm really not into bikes, but 80s and 90s bikes really interest me. Oh, hey, Skids, there's two for sale VMaxes down here. One of them's 3,500, the other one's 4,100. I almost bought one of them. I'm not kidding. I was like, oh my God, I want that bike. But no, I want to get something obnoxious, like just some obnoxious Luxo boat cruiser if I get a cruiser. But Skid saying I barely get out of third on the duck. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And it's like I say, I mean, they're all like that now. You know, they're all just really, they're almost too good. If I'm being honest, you lose some of the grit. That's why I like this Triumph. It's got that grittiness to it that I really enjoy. Ghost asking, would I be, do you ride off-road bikes? I used to, not anymore. I love Yamaha YZ 2-strokes. Yes, please, thank you, and then some. I bought a new one back in 2018. May get a Yamaha Striker Cruiser. I tell you what, used to freaking live 2-stroke enduro, motocross, all of it. Loved it. Miss it. Was dealership sponsored when I was a kid. Kawasaki, by the way, KX80. They saying, yeah, Sovereign Eco mode is really just for long rides, which is true. It's saying, dang, the VMAX incredible. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you're not familiar with what a VMAX is, back in the day, the way that the commercials went for those bikes is it was a dude doing a burnout on a motorcycle. I mean, dude, they were just the muscle cruiser era of the 80s was, God, it was just perfect, man. I mean, damn. Yeah. Those, so, and it's a 1200, right? So it's the closest thing you can get to riding a bike with a V8 almost. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, I mean, muscle cruisers were just so cool. And there was not one cooler than the VMAX. Yeah, VMAX of a V4. Yes, yes, yes. Basically, I can see B on a Fat Boy. Yeah. Like a Fat Boy. Medevac saying Yamaha here. Yep. Started my life with a PW50. Was my very first bike. I was 5 years old. So saying strikers are a kick-ass bike. Do it. Yes. They say I used to ride motocross, KTM. KTM's a good bike. Weird how the kickstart was on the opposite side. Yep. They say he started on an XR200. Go saying VMAX is making like 200 stock. Yeah, the new one is. It's saying, yeah, the power cruisers of the 80s were like muscle car eras. Yeah, there was a golden era. And it started, it started with several bikes. but the KZ 900, the Z1, KZ 1000 would really be like where the tide really started rising. And then you had all the rest of the bikes that would start coming, the big bore bikes from Suzuki and Yamaha, man. He had Honda kicking in there with some. I mean, it's just so many killer bikes. But then they got into the muscle era, and that's when things just got awesome, you know. And they nothing. Not just nothing. I mean, these you talk about hooligan and stuff like that, but the guys would just do long, smoky burnouts, leaving a stoplight for no reason other than they could, like the Seika 2s and the VMaxes and any of the Z bikes, the Kawasaki's. Guys would just freaking light tires up. That's what they were there for. So yes, the muscle bike era was very cool. Some of the sportsters of the era, the guys who do the same thing with the Harley Davidsons. Moto's got a 990 Super Duke, awesome bike. Yep. Arthur's saying V4, V8 torque. Yeah, they sound good too, man. Holy shit. He's saying the KTM 250 row is nasty. Yeah. KTM builds a hell of an off-road bike. Yeah, Skids saying the big four kept trying to one-up each other. Cowie was the instigator for sure. Yeah, that's also in that era, you had the two strokes. So you had the 400, then the 500, then the 750 two-stroke bikes back then. And those were pretty nasty. I'll tell you what, if you're ever bored, look up two-stroke Kawasaki drag bike. That's a pretty insane, pretty intense motorcycle for sure. But yeah, check that out. Like I say, if you get bored for a hot minute, look up any of those bikes from back in the day. Rome's asking, have you heard about these rumors of a Challenger prototype rolling around Detroit with new bumpers and rear light design? No, I haven't. Well, I mean, I'd have to see some pics of it, but I'm still just it pains me to say it, but about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, there was something about Tim Kaniskis was talking about how they were going to come to market with the LX car platform with its replacement. And remember, it was the Giulia, and then it went to the Ghibli because the Ghibli could carry the V8. These are Alfa Romeo platforms, by the way. And then the guy comes out and says, no, what we're going to do is we're going to rebody or reorganize the LX platform, and that's the direction we're going to go. And then they said, no, we're not going to do that anymore because the internal combustion engine's going away. It's not, but anyway. And we're now going to go to this Banshee looking thing. And I think that Banshee looking thing has had so much negative retort, if you will, that I would not be shocked if they started to switch gears and go in a different direction. But that saying, they've got to give us something to play with, man, for sure. They saying the CR500 two-stroke my friend used to race was ridiculous. Yeah, that is that's a crazy bike. Oh, go saying Honda V45 Magna. Yep. V65 Sabre, Kawasaki GPZ. Yes, all of those. I used to like them a lot. Kawasaki two-stroke triple is the bike I think you're talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. MotoX saying Bel-Ray MC1 fan. Nice. Oh, Skid saying I'm like you in that regard. Love the fast cars. The fast bikes are just so much more visceral. Yeah. In the older bikes, you just The thing that I like about the older so a motorcycle, let's talk about a bike for a minute. You are integral to the structure of a motorcycle. You're not integral to the structure of a car. Granted, the car doesn't drive unless you drive it. Well, unless it's a Tesla, but you get the idea. You are part of the aerodynamic profile of a motorcycle. You are part of how that motorcycle turns, literally with the way that you're adjusting your body and moving your body on that frame. Everything about you and the bike has to come together and work in harmony to make this thing work, to make this organism work. It takes both of y'all to be a part of that. When you start throwing nannies at that, it takes away so much. You know, when you start adding traction control and wheelie control and this control and that control, it's a neutered experience. And as good as the new bikes are, and they are astonishingly good, you know, they're making obnoxious power, and they've got every nanny that they have is there to save your life. But, and that's fine. I get that. But I guess where I'm going with this is, you know, I don't want to be separated from the organism that you create when you're on a bike. It's just something wholly different. Oh, Bay saying, yeah, the 500s were well, and there was a lot going on there too. But yeah, the 500s were a little bit portly. Sovereign's liking the body on the Banshee. I haven't fell in love with it yet. Oh, Moto X is hanging out with Base. Yep. YZ250. I would take the two-stroke. I'm just a two-stroke guy. Sovereign saying, let's get a gas variant of the Banshee. My understanding is it's a Chimera platform, so it should be able to go whichever direction you want it to, whether it's internal combustion, EV, or hybrid. Rome's liking Sovereign. Yeah, Sovereign's idea. Yep. Moto X on any Sunday. Good movie. X saying, what up, chat? Professor B. Hit 111K on the 5.7. Nice. Base is hanging out with Doom. Oh, DM saying, just sharing, he's got a Y2K Yami R1. Love that bike. Highly modded with Graves parts. Love my track bike from the golden analog era. Yes. So if you guys don't know what DM's talking about, so there is a golden era of analog sport bikes. And the era that he's talking about is from about 1995 to about 2005, maybe 2007. There was about a 10-year run of leader class. The GSXR 750 has always been somewhere in there. It's like this bike that will never go away. But all of the leader class, the Triumph 955s, any of the Ducati 900 or low 1000 cc range bikes, all of those, the Aprilia with the Rotax engine, Aprilia Miele R, all of those bikes are, the S-Rad, the Suzuki, the V-Twin, that's part of this. That's part of an era in motorcycling where all of the bikes, that's when the inline fours, V4s were kind of an exotic thing, but that's part of an era where all of the leader class bikes went from like 130 horsepower and 74, 72, 75 foot-pounds of torque to like the 150 to 165 horse range. They all kind of went, boop, this kind of leveled up. And in that era, when bikes started, so my Triumph is rated at 130 with the tune that's on it. The pipe It's at about 140 horsepower, give or take, maybe 145. Doesn't matter. My bike would be the beginning of that golden analog era. And so when guys were tuning those bikes and they were getting them to the track and doing a lot of hard street runs, there is no traction control. There's no ABS. There's no, most of them don't even have hydraulic clutches. There was a focus on power production, and that was it. And so bikes of that era have this feel to them that you're just not going to find anywhere else. And the best way I can describe it is that most of them, not the 4-cylinder bikes, but the twins and the trips, all of those bikes, what they'll do is they'll give you this nice hard hit of power that just carries out to 10 or 12,000 RPM. The 4-cylinder bikes are a little bit numb until you hit about 8,000 RPM, and then they get hairy as hell on their way to anywhere from 150, 165 horsepower. But the point that I'm making is that those bikes have none of the nannies and none of the safeguards, which makes them a whole lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, X saying, what up, Base? He's saying, talking to, yeah, say, I like the Banshee body at first sight. The more I look at it, the less attraction it becomes. That's kind of where I'm at, Skids. See, here's the thing. The more I look at it, the more, I don't like using this word. I just don't have another word to describe it. It looks amateurish, or it looks sophomoric in a way. It looks like it's just not finished yet. Maybe if I saw one in person, I don't know. But it's a concept, right? So I keep falling out of love with it, I guess, is my problem. Ghost asks, do you remember the Charger concept car from the late 90s? I think I do. I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, the purple looking one. It looked like an, oh hell, what was the Intrepid? Is that what it was called? I think I know which one you're talking about, though. Yeah, I do. Arthur's asking, they still make OEM turbo bikes. No, the H2 has a supercharger, but they do not make OEM turbo bikes anymore. There was a hot minute where they did, though. Ghost, I still like that Charger design and think Dodge should do something with it. Maybe put the twin turbo Hurricane in it. Absolutely. Red Dog's asking, I don't have MDS, so what do you think the chances are of getting the tick at 40,000 miles now? Keep the oil changed, and I don't think you're going to have an issue with it. I really don't. But it's mainly just an oil change thing. Queen of Queens says, are C8 Corvettes already considered like supercars? I like the way you put that. They are like supercars. They are not supercars. They are. Now, that being said, the Z06 might make an argument for that car to be a supercar, though. Let's get saying the R1 and the old Cross Plane 4. Yes. Jeremy saying, yeah, the Ducati 1098, arguably the best Ducati ever laid out. No electronic throttle. Love the new Divel V4, 168 horsepower. Yes. Very good bike. Very good. 1098. So I've always been a Tri-9 fan, but can you believe the ugly duckling, the bike that nobody wants? And the only reason why I like it is because it has the vertical headlights. Have you seen what the values of those things? Any of the analog bikes right now, the values are going through the freaking roof. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but that's where we're at right now. I mean, look at the Aprilia Mille, dude. Oh shit. Okay. So for those of y'all that don't know, I had an RC51 that I absolutely loved, an SP2 RC51. those bikes are getting unbelievably stupid in terms of price. And I cannot understand. So the RC51, it's a V-twin. It's a great bike. Don't get me wrong, but it is just, you crack the throttle and it's an immediate wham of torque. That bike makes horsepower as an afterthought. It doesn't have, it's like 100 and maybe 40 horsepower, but it's nothing but torque. Those bikes are getting nutty in terms of cost, and they are not the bike you think that you're buying. It is a heavy bike. The engine is actually kicked forward in the frame, so they're front heavy bikes. They're not very lively, but they're real stable. But they will absolutely wreck your wrist on a even on like a 30-minute ride. So anyway, Queen's asking, how would your red Hellcat, this one here, do against the Demon 170? The Demon 170 had better walk all over my car. My car is just a stock boost Hellcat running at best 10 O's. Now, granted, that's on 93 octane. So if we can go fuel for fuel, be close. But I don't have the ability to go E85, so that's where things get completely different between the two cars. And that it is a big difference, by the way. Base saying the C8 is a poor man's Lamborghini. The problem is I wouldn't call it a poor man's Lamborghini because they're freaking so expensive nowadays. Jeremy talking about the tonight, the feeling of holy crap, it's trying to kill me. It's actually, it's all there all the time. That's what I like about those bikes. And guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not pissing on the new bikes. A lot of times people get it way wrong that when guys start talking up like the Triumph T595 or the T595D, which is the next generation of the Triumphs after mine, the one that my dad had, those bikes are awesome. All the older bikes are awesome, but the new bikes, obviously they're going to be better. I mean, you take a look at what you had and you do things to improve upon where you were before. Duh. Like if it's not better, somebody ought to get fired, right? So yeah, there's a lot of better, but the reality is that, I mean, take a look at what Ducati's doing. Ducati has got their V-twin still. It's 955 cc's and it's 155 horsepower. And that is touted, that bike, which the blah, 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 blah. I can't remember, the name's escaping me right now. That bike is talked up to be like the best out of the group. Even with the V4s taken into account, they're just far too powerful for their own good. I mean, you literally can't play with those things on the street. Whereas something with about 155, 145, 165, even 175 horsepower, you can play with those things on the street. And if you're skilled and you get out and you practice and you play with your bike, which you should always do, or your car for that matter. So this part of the chat, I mean, cars or bikes, it doesn't matter, same thing. This is a where you have an opportunity to just be able to enjoy the machine. And again, to be part of an organism. That's the thing about bikes that a lot of folks, if you're not into bikes, it's understandable because it's scary. Okay. I mean, I've been around them my entire life in one way or another. I didn't have, put it like this. I took a 10-year break and had 0 seat rust. So, there's that, which you might go, it's balderdash. I kid you not. It was like I took a vacation, came back, fired the bike up and went for a ride. I'm not joking. A little bit of trepidation with as hard as I would ride on the street, but that might just be me being a little bit smarter. Normally I treated the street like it was my own private racetrack. So that might be the reason why I didn't have any real like ring rust or seat rust when it comes to bikes is because I was just so hard in the saddle previously. So, let's see. I don't know where I was going with all that. Oh, yeah, the analog versus the new stuff. Yeah, I'm not having a piss with the new bikes. They are freaking amazing. In every way that they can be amazing. But man, there's just something about the analog bikes with the cable clutch. I mean, you come away from it, it's like you're just, just the heaviness of the clutch and all of that, man. I know it's not as good as the new stuff, but it's just, God, it's just such a neat riding experience, man. You get done with it, man. You've been doing something. It's like they make you work for it a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Queen's asking, why do some people think electric cars are better than gas engines? It takes way longer to charge a vehicle than to fill a car of gasoline. Yeah, I mean, well, people like them because that particular powertrain is immediate torque and a lot of it. And since they've improved upon the motors and the speed controllers, they will actually run at the quarter mile. They'll known as back halving. They will back half the way that an internal combustion engine back halves the track, which is to say that they're not just making a lot of torque, they're also making a lot of horsepower now. And so they're fast. You don't have to worry about throwing a rod or blowing up a transmission, although you might have to worry about ripping a motor mount out of them if you're really on them a lot. But that being said, it's just a different kind of powertrain to me. I don't like the fact that it's politicized. I don't like the fact that they're forcing EVs to carry weight that they shouldn't have to carry. To me, it's just another powertrain. They have their places where they're good and that they make sense, and they have their places where they don't. Just like a lot of things, just like a lot of people too. So anyway, that's why though. X talking about the telling, hell yeah, base about the vet. Oh, Skid saying, I got out today at a Cowie demo, rode a Z900. Shit, tell me about the bike, dude. The guy at the beginning of the demo said, don't rev the bike. Really? I did not abide. It's a fun little Neo retro machine. I like the Z900 a lot. That is a neat bike for me anyway. Jeremy's saying the bikes of that era were not forgiving. No, they weren't. Skid saying it's a four-cylinder saw was keeping on the bull. You got to. That's what it's for. I saw someone driving a C8 like a damn Prius. Maybe mad. Good, close friend of mine just got a brand new Z06, by the way, guys. Just saying. Saying definitely like a supercar. Yeah. Queen, no, you absolutely cannot. He's asking, can you put a smaller pulley on a stock Hellcat without tuning it? No. Unless you live at an altitude above like 7,000 feet, no, you can't. At all. Base is saying he likes the C8, just likes the back seat. Yep. Ghost, I don't know about Bimoto. That's a good question. I don't know if they are. Skid saying the old ducks are money. Yeah, I don't understand it. Why are the Tri-9s as expensive as they are? I don't get it. I would have been a player for a Tri-9 if not for my Triumph. I wouldn't be able to hang with a Tri-9 if I'm riding it. Like I wouldn't be able to rip my Triumph with the Ducati in like the mountains, but on sweepers, this Triumph would have no problem hanging with it. I say that. Depends on who's riding the Duck. If it's me back to back, though, I would probably pick the Ducati over the Triumph for certain areas, but just overall, it's Triumph all the way for me. But I say instead of getting ticketed, San Bruno cop test road Buddy's brand new CR250. Get down to NorCal Cycles in Millbrae, dude. Tell Warren and everybody over there I said what's up. Moto X saying rode off on his Honda XI500. Nice. Skids is saying I like the feeling as well, like I'm cheating death. Banks is asking if I'm going to release any Triumph footage. So what I need to do, if I'm going to, I've got to get a helmet, I've got to get a chin mount, a camera, and all of that. What I might do is I might see if I can't do something to get some Triumph footage, though, other than it just sitting there idling or something like that. Queen's asking, so the red Hellcat, this one right here, would be neck and neck with the stock normal Demon, or would normal Demon still win? If the normal Demon is on 93 octane, because again, remember, I am not tuned on race gas, it would be neck and neck with me pulling on the Demon on the big end, with the Demon getting out on me for the first half track. And I know this because I have done that race a whole lot of times, not only with Demons, but with the Red Eyes as well. Moto X saying Ducati's needing shims all the time, talking about valve adjustments. Skids is saying, so is the 595 a Daytona? Yes, it is a T595, not to be confused with the 509, which is the speed triple. And then you have the T595D, which is the successor to the 595, has a little bit better cylinder head, still a 955, a little bit more horsepower, rated at 145 or 147. That's the one that my dad had. Actually, technically, my dad had both bikes. Ghost saying I have the engine Evolution 5100 cold air set up on his 14 Challenger RT, and when I checked the air filter recently, the rubber part on the inlet part was melted. What do you think caused that issue? Good question. I don't know. The rubber part on the inlet part. Are you talking about the inlet part at the intake manifold? I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. Man, I don't know. I've never heard of that problem. Is it right in front of the fan? Is it getting hit by a ton of fan wash? So I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of, other than maybe crankcase vent, but I don't think that would do that. Actually, I'm scared as hell of getting on a bike and someone hitting me. That would suck. I'm a very aggressive rider, though, so I'm usually going around people. I'm the same way with driving, though. And it's funny. I only say that as it's an admission. It's like I understand it. I guess now people say, "Oh, you drive fast." I'm like, I don't drive fast. I just drive. I don't, same way with riding. But I've always felt that if you are like riding a motorcycle, you need to be outpacing the traffic. If you run with traffic, that's how you end up getting hurt, because if you go to slow down and somebody's behind you, a lot of time, like I don't even hit the brakes, I just engine brake. So you see me flicking, blipping for downshifts. Anyway, there's a chance you can get hit in that scenario, but I mean, I don't ride like stupid fast. I just ride faster than whatever the traffic is. So saying, I love my quick shift up and down. Not going to lie. Yeah. I wouldn't mind putting a quick shifter on this thing, but ain't going to happen. Oh, go say I'm actually thinking about getting rid of the CAI setup and going back to my OEN airbox. I just haven't seen a lot of reason to go with the CAI for the NA stuff, unless it's the truck and then you get the tube. But And the weird thing is that part has been discontinued since 2021, and we're still able to get our hands on a couple of them. It looks like Orange Crush got rid of Orange Crush and now has a Ram 1500. Dan saying, yo, what's up, Professor? New work schedule been killing me from hopping on the lives. Nice. Good to see you, brother. Moto X, vintage bikes with frame flex gave you an indication of limited quartering speed. Modern bikes quarter faster, but doesn't warn you when it's going to slide. Man, so here's the thing. Some of the older bikes were extremely rigid. That was the whole thing. They were, but you're right. They were moving away from flexi frames and going to the more rigid stuff at one point. But yeah, the older tube steel frame bikes would flex. And they would flex. You get into a corner, you'd lean them over, and you would have more tail end flex. And so anyway, when I'm talking about bump steer, it's pretty crazy stuff. Queen's asking, do you think the Demon 170 is actually impressive on how it's built from the factory? Yeah, it's absolutely, well, it's okay. I wouldn't use the term impressive. It is exactly what it needs to be able to make the power that it needs to make to run an impressive number. I don't want it. God, I know I always sound like I'm shitting on that car, and I'm not. It's just that we've been wanting that car should have come with this flex fuel capability a long time ago. That's the tough part of it. Dan, thank you very much. Asking, would Hellcat headers be plug and play in the 5.7? Yes, provided that you have the cat back to go along with it. So like a scat pack cat back. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of guys use those headers. But they work very, very well. I would suggest, if you're going to have them off the car, go ahead and get the casting flash out of the out of the flange. But yeah, get that in a scat pack cat back and you're good to go. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. Queen's asking, is racing bikes or just driving bikes in general more fun than racing or driving around in fast cars? Yeah, kind of. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. The motorcycle is that experience is inherently more rewarding. So I would say that, but there's certain things that you just don't do with a bike. Like there's no autocross for motorcycles. It's just track days. There are certain things that you can do that are fun with a car, but I mean, you can be in your car and you're thinking about, man, I'd like to be on the bike right now. You're never on the bike thinking I'd rather be in my car ever. That's like no, doesn't work like that. Skids saying, on the bike, just keep your head on a swivel 100% all the time. I engine brake too. I try to remember to touch the brake lever. That's right. Just as an indicator. Just let them know I'm stopping. I'll do that with the rear brake. If I'm engine braking, I'll drag the rear brake a little bit. Ghost. Saying the rubber part of the filter at the very front part of the filter. Really? It's a fully enclosed airbox design too. I can't understand why it melted. I can't either. Almost sounds like a defect of some kind. Red Dog. If I added up all the manufacturer promised horsepower gains from all of my bolt-ons, I should be around 600 horsepower. At least, bro. At least. Carl's saying aggressive riding, driving safest for sure. Just treat the sheep like moving chicanes. That is freaking priceless. I love it. Yes. And again, Dan, thank you, buddy. Ghost is asking if I considered getting an older model 5.7 car and building a mean street car. I thought about it. To do it, I would have to get rid of the Hellcat. And I don't know that I would be able to get rid of the Hellcat. And here's the thing. So I drove that car, this one, the other day. And I don't know. I was, the funny thing about a Hellcat, you know what? It's interesting. If you're into bikes and if you're watching this, you might be. I've been talking about bikes for quite a bit. The Hellcat, driving the Hellcat is a lot like driving a V-twin motorcycle, where you get a lot of initial crack of torque if you really get into it. If you're really cracking into the throttle, you'll get a hit of torque, and that torque never goes away, but that torque never delivers on the promise of the horsepower that you think might be coming with it. I love the Hellcat the same way that I love V-twin motorcycles, like sport bike motorcycles, in that they're very much immediate gratification type vehicles to drive, but you never have this big hit of horsepower unless you really get into modifying. I'm mainly talking about, just more stock-ish cars in general. And a lot of times that torque is not really something that you want. It's never, you don't kick it out of bed, right? But it's not, a lot of times you don't want that big hit of torque. You'd rather have something that builds into power. And that's mainly for traction management and just chassis management in general, suspension management, coming out of a corner. A lot of times all that torque isn't good because the torque can overpower the tires or the chassis before you get a chance to even start making horsepower. So anyway, that's the RC51 in a nutshell. That's some of the earlier V-twin bikes in a nutshell, and the same with the Hellcat. So if I were to give you what's it like with a bike or a Hellcat, how would you compare those? That's exactly what it would be like. Jeremy's saying, B, what is up with the commercials in the live feed? That's a YouTube thing. I don't have I shouldn't have commercials in a live feed. I need to look into settings and fix that. Oh, Moto X is like the music in the Chally. Moto's in the car. Helmet's not necessary. True. Queen of Queens, can you ride bikes without a helmet? I would not. Can you tell? I'm asking because I'm planning on buying one and I'm cute as hell and want to show off my face. You won't be that cute if your face ends up getting ground off by the concrete if you have something go wrong with your bike. And you think that shit doesn't happen. It happens to happen a lot. So, Skids is saying I had a commercial come up too. No, I don't want commercials in this. So I will look into fixing that. Moto X is asking, is a Hellcat 0 to 80 faster in 500 horsepower mode? I will tell you this. I don't know if I can answer no, it wouldn't necessarily be faster. It'd be more manageable though. I can tell you that Hellcat in 500 horse mode is still an 11-second car. It's still fast. So, Jeremy said, oh, the commercials of it helps them with the good, but it stops the feed. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, Road Test saying, hey, have you ever ridden an 8485 Cali GPZ 750 Turbo? No, I would love to. Say wild ride when it's modded. I would love to ride one of those bikes. Skids saying, Motox, the soundtrack of the bike is killer. Yes, it is. Sovereign's not getting any ads on his phone. Yeah, but you got an ad blocker on yours, though. Skids saying, dress for the slide, not the ride. Indeed. Wear a helmet, don't end up like Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, I mean, we used to have the guys that would have the Slap-a-Ho stickers, which is save lives and put a helmet on, is what Slap-a-Ho stands for. SLAPAHO, save lives and put a helmet on. Red Dog, thank you. Here's to help keep the commercials away. Yeah, I don't like the idea of having any commercials on my live feed. That does not fall within the spirit of my channel. Oh, Skids saying he minimized his screen. Oh, man, I don't know. Oh, Jeremy's saying, I live in Florida. You should really use a helmet. Yeah, no matter what, always put a lid on, man. RT saying, road rash ain't no joke. Got scarred up pretty bad. So you will not be able to see it. I had a wreck. Evading. Anyway, all this portion of my forearm, and it won't show up on camera, is slightly discolored. It's because I ground it off. Real bad road rash. Here on my forearm, my elbow, and my knee. So, but it's healed up fine over the years, but it took a while. A little bit of a chunk still right there. So, oh, Sovereign say no ad blocker on the phone. Only on the PC. Good to know. And again, thank you, Red Dog. Appreciate you, brother. Oh, Carl saying, compared to my Street Fighter V4, my Scat Pack feels like a 97 Camry. I just worked out that the Challenger would need 2,046 horsepower to feel like the bike for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, like I say, the newer bikes are just so fast. They're so good. It's just absolutely mind-numbing. Just how fast these newer bikes are. It's crazy. Red Dog saying same knee and elbow a couple of times. Too old for that now. So what's funny is that the last time I went down was when I lived in San Francisco, and it was a buddy of mine and I were ripping it up through Skywalker Ranch, and it was the easiest, most like nothingest low side ever. In fact, it was on a left-hander. I'm looking up, and I go to roll onto the throttle, and the whole thing is going up into the mountain. And I roll onto the throttle, and then my bike's not there anymore. The bike just went out from underneath me, and it dragged me off of the road and down the embankment. But yeah, that was not fun. Let's see. Jeremy's asking if I watched any of Drag Week. Not yet. No, I have not. Queen's asking, have I been in any major car accidents? Only one when I was very, very, very young. But no, nothing like major. Knock on wood. But I have been in a few accidents. I'm saying sometimes my Nag 1 makes a weird loud clicking sound when shifting from third to fourth. Sounds like 3 to 4 clicks. Ever heard of that noise with the Nag? No, I haven't. Motox saying, Queen, wear a helmet, riding suit, gloves, eye protection, especially boot, not stupid tennis shoes like some folks. A crash on pavement will grind down your ankles in a hamburger for sure. I was wearing my Chucks tonight. At least I'm covering my ankle. But I was wearing my my jacket and my gloves and, of course, my helmet. Jeremy said it has a SMX twin turbo. Oh, no. I just had a thing that popped up saying ads were going to pop up down here, and I just skipped those. So for those of you that would have got an ad, I just squashed that. Oh, VA's asking, do you know if Speedy ever got his car back? I have no clue. He took everything down off of social media that had anything to do with that. So, don't know. I have not spoken with him. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Skids, my nag makes weird noise. Oh, never mind. That's funny. Or I'm saying it happens rarely and usually when MDS is engaging, but I'm getting on the gas. That's just weird. I haven't heard that. He was asking HP70, what would you say are the limits or the breaking point? I can tell you that on a Mustang dyno at about 535 foot-pounds and 550 foot-pounds of torque, somewhere in that range, they will start to slip. So on a Mustang dyno, say on the far side, 550, and on a dyno jet, maybe 600-ish foot-pounds of torque. That's when they're going to start to act up. At GAD, all gear all the time. Yes. All definitely good advice. Rome saying Speedy did get his car back. Good. Was it intact? Was there anything left of it? Queen's asking, would you consider green go a very rare color? It's a rare-ish color, yeah. I mean, it is a 1 year. Actually, I think they brought it back at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's actually a good looking color. It's one of the ones I can't believe they got rid of. Jeremy's saying we got people riding bikes with tank tops and flip flops. Call them Bloody Marys or margarita mix. Yeah. Not a good look. Oh, cool green with envy. I like the greens. I just they didn't stick around. Jay saying thanks, Rome. Anyway, extender Mopar style. Red Dog, what's the limit on a Tremec 6? I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody hit limits with that transmission. I would say I'd start worrying about it probably around 650 foot-pounds of torque, give or take. Although I know guys that have gotten quite a bit more than that and didn't have issues. Oh, Rome's saying, seems good. It's under a car cover in his garage. Says updates and vids coming soon. Okay. Ghost asking, is green go color sassy grass? I think it is the same, but I could probably be very wrong about that. But, well, guys, I've got to wrap it up. I've got to actually get the bike put up, and I got to wake up early on a Sunday. Rare, but I do. But I want to thank each and every one of you guys. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Thank y'all for supporting the channel. And I'm going to take a look at that thing with the ads. Alex, man, I appreciate the contribution. Dan, thank you, buddy. Red Dog, thank you so much. I'm going to take a look at that. I don't want ads. If there's a way to take ads off of these streams, I definitely want to do that. So I'll take a look at that. But with that, guys, that's a wrap. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. Love all you guys. And guys, listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, now it's a wrap. Guys, y'all have a great one. Adios.